Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Manal El-Ramly. She is a meditation and mindfulness coach, creator of the Maintain Method, and founded the Maintain LLC. She is an insight timer teacher and Tedx speaker. Manal empowers self-discovery, inner peace, and alignment. And she's also the author of 3 books. I just found out the other 2. The one that I have here is titled Transcending Anxiety: From Fear to Freedom, Transforming Unacknowledged Fears into a Life of Freedom and Happiness. I do have the other titles here too. I have questions for you. So, this is my brief introduction to Manal. But the question that I ask everyone from the get go, although we have been talking off record already about a lot of things, how would you introduce yourself in this very moment? Who are you, Manal?
Ooh, Valerie, this is so interesting because I was just at my son's, he's a junior school,
Yeah.
and I was interviewing the young men. There was young men, it could have been young women, but I got 2 young men to help them prepare for interviews, college interviews or future interviews. And I said, you know what? One of the most questions that I don't like is tell me about yourself. And I said, but it's so important because it tells you so much
Yeah.
about the person, how they choose. So you're giving me an open-ended question that's going to illustrate. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, she's putting me to work,
Yes.
Valerie. Okay. I am. That's
Mm,
ultimately where I want to get to is
mm,
I am.
right.
So I am a seeker. I am a teacher. I am a mother. I am a daughter. I am a sister. I
Mm.
am a friend. I am a partner.
Yeah.
I am a daughter. Did I say I'm a daughter? Yes, yes, I am so many things, but
Yeah.
ultimately what I strive to get. So I've been a seeker my whole life and I'm curious about why. Why are we here? Why are you there? Why am I here? Why do we look the same but different? And why do we have very different experiences? And what is the commonality in our experiences that make us that put us here? Why are we human? What's the humanity is about and why? So I
Mm,
am all of
mm,
these things that are ultimately, and so that's what led me to being okay, now my resume, a Tedx speaker, a founder of Mattain, which means Manal means attainment in Arabic and Egyptian. My parents are Egyptian.
yeah.
So I put an M in front of it, attain. So Mattain, so the founder of Mattain, which is helping people attain the life that they desire. And ultimately, I believe we're all looking for 3 things, which is the truth of our worthiness, our love, and our freedom. And we'll come back to that.
Mm,
I am a meditation teacher on Insight Timer and do
mm,
regular lives and love collaborating with the other teachers. And
mm.
I'm a mother. I love being a mom of 3 amazing children and a friend, like I said, and all these different things. So, did I answer your question, Valerie? Did I give the listeners a taste of who they're exploring with today?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Beautifully. Beautifully. I love how you started answering the question with I am, and there was a
Mm.
pause there. So there's no need to almost for description or more. I am this, and this is it. And then it could be anything else, right? The expression of this. So yes, that's what I have uncovered to be true in a very painful way. So you still use the word seeker. Are you still seeking something? What are you seeking when you use that term as a seeker?
Valerie, I don't think I'm curious if I'll ever stop using that term
Huh. Yeah.
because I truly believe, and we were talking about this off camera,
Mm.
that we don't ultimately recalibrate, return to the infinite essence that we are until we die. And so I believe that we're here as humans to grow and expand. And this is
Right.
through learning and learning and seeker. So, seeker is the noun of learning, growing, expanding. So,
Yeah.
yes, I am a seeker. And I believe I've been a seeker since the moment I popped out of my mother's
Yeah.
womb. I believe so. As far as I can remember, I remember questioning why, like
Yeah.
why, out of curiosity, maybe at sometimes it would be tinged with anger, sometimes with frustration,
Mm.
sometimes with victimhood. And
Right.
more lately, I've returned to this curiosity, like, why? Why are we here? And so, yes, I do
Mm.
believe that I'm a seeker. And I invite all of the listeners to sort of embody, and you don't have to call it seeker.
Mm.
Seeker sort of has this taste of like being a spiritual guide or whatever it might
Yes.
be, or it
Yeah.
has that sort of essence of it. But
Yeah.
a curious, I'm a learner, I'm a whatever it might be, I'm a creator, whatever it might
Mm.
be
Mm.
that's representative of a journey of continued growth and expansion and learning and love and and calibrating. I know this is going to be any
Yeah.
of the engineers and mathematicians. I know they're going to say, how is this possible? But calibrating back to infinite, the infinite nature of
Mm.
who we are.
Mm. Wow. Ah, what's not to love about that? All that. Yes, calibrating. That's interesting. That's the title of the episode, too. So, calibrating to wholeness, healing, and transformation. Yes, right. So that involves, of course, healing. We, in
Mhm.
order to embody that wholeness, right? Healing needs to take place. What is the feeling associated with that, Manal? When, yeah, in this process of growing, evolving. Um,
Okay, Valerie, there's some words that I use, but in my Mattain teachings, in
yeah.
my framework, my methodology, I like to reframe. And healing is one of them because I would be healing until the day I die
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's always an aspect that feels not complete or not whole. Maybe
Yeah.
if we go back to the fact that I believe that we're infinite beings and in our physicality, there's a limitation for us to be, because we're human, to be able to be calibrated to that infinite nature the whole time. So I like to reframe, and I just love the natural release of energy that my students or followers or whoever it might be, the label that will give my clients when I say, we are whole.
Yes.
We are whole. And and yes, our past may have within us imprints, physical, emotional, mental. These are labels that are given to trauma or PTSD or suffering and struggle. Yes, there are imprints in our body, but when we stop framing them
Yeah.
as pain, suffer, or struggling, and we start to recognize, oh, this is just the human journey.
Right.
This is just a journey that's meant for us to learn and expand and to grow. This
Right.
is just a experience of humaning for
Mm.
me to start to recognize that I don't need to calibrate to external
Right.
and calibrate to the internal nature of my worthiness, my
Right.
love, my freedom. So the taste of wholeness
Mm.
is that we've arrived.
Yeah.
The taste of wholeness is, now I'm going to contradict myself in that way. We no longer have to seek. See,
Yeah.
I'm learning and growing all the time, but we
Like
just allow and
yeah.
we can be. So maybe that's an answer that I'll expand onto your previous question is like, no, maybe actually, Manel, there's one point that you keep seeking and
Right.
it's actually within. And look, I've got goosebumps because
Uh,
I just can't, I want to cry. I just feel like I grew in this moment. Oh my God, goosebumps all over. So yes, it's about allowing, embodying, and being the truth of who we are. That's what
mm,
healing reframed to wholeness. So I invite everybody
yeah.
that's listening, that's on our healing journey, to
Yeah.
see if we want to reframe it from healing to wholeness
Right.
and see
Mm,
what the beautiful tastes and the essence of
mm.
that shift feels to you.
Yes, 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 a billion times. I mean, I love that metaphor. And it's funny because I never heard anybody using it. I use it all the time about the
Hmm.
savoring. But you're the first one who really bringing this out with a lot of conviction. Like, I know
Hmm.
this is true, the taste of life. Um, yes, because wholeness means to me freedom. So
Mm.
in freedom, everything is possible. So it's the experience of freedom would be this. So everything being exactly as it is, the
Yes.
thoughts coming, the emotions. And I love that. So we're just being open enough to kind of taste everything that comes up, that shows up in our reality. Then that would be the to me that would be the a taste of the infinite, then, of freedom. Now we know we are free already, and then we are that's why this platform is titled The Freedom to Feel, for a reason. After
Mm.
all these years, I just came to that, let's say, orientation, not
Yeah.
conclusion, but
Yes.
orientation. Wait a minute, this
Hmm.
is it. So thank you for your clarity. And I know that minds are very different because I mean, it's beautiful too, the diversity. That's part of freedom too, to be, think differently, to be differently. But there's something about conditioned thinking that tends to be very predictable. And
Hmm.
that's why I love when I meet people that they come from a, there's that taste again of the unconditioned.
Hmm.
So almost like a taste of the infinite, of the silence. I don't know. I'm so devoted to it. It kind of, yeah, it does something here. But you mentioned earlier about the body being conditioned. So we are limited, right? It's almost like I mean, it feels paradoxical, but it's not, right, now that if everything's happening in God, everything is divine, everything's happening within that wholeness, and then this is just parts of it, then of course, only the sense of wholeness would be perfection, would be unconditioned. But the rest of it is just limited and conditioned. And why not accept that too as truth? Because it very much feels like it in this plane.
There's a lot that you're saying in there, but
Yeah.
yes, if we can get to a point of, okay, let me speak to the four bodies. Okay.
But yeah.
In my framework, I see that we have a physical body,
Yeah.
and that's where we have the physical sensations. Our emotional body, this is where our primary feelings are sadness and joy and happiness and frustration and
Yeah.
anger. Our mental body, where our thoughts form, and then in our egoic body. And this egoic body is sometimes called the spiritual body. I like calling it
Mhm.
the egoic body because this is where I believe that resistance actually is,
Right.
and that we want to get from a resistant to non-resistant.
Right.
It could be conditioned to non-conditioned.
Mhm.
So we have our four bodies. And if we can get to a place of acceptance of our physical, which might have physical sensations that we label as pain, but if we recognize that it just is. I'll
Right.
give an example. My son sprained his ankle and he was wearing a big boot and he was not very happy. And then we had a conversation of recognizing that perhaps I'm going to use the word spirit, God, universe, whatever it might be, the mystery, because I don't like to close off what the listeners might be labeling the mystery, but whatever it might be,
Yeah.
that he was best to rest for a
Mhm.
week, to not drive for a week, to come home and to be not to go to the gym for a week. And that is what served him. So once he got to a state of acceptance
Yeah.
of his limited physical mobility, there was a
Mm.
sense of peace that
Mm.
came to him. So in
Yeah.
the physical body, if we can find acceptance, I
Yeah.
believe in the emotional body, we want to get, it's called ACTS. I have it, the acronym is ACTS, is
Yeah.
compassion,
Mm.
which
Yeah.
is like an active form of love and just having
Mm.
compassion
Mm.
for ourselves,
Mm.
for our journey,
Mm.
for the mystery, for others, but
Right.
ultimately compassion.
Mm.
And the mental body, we want to get to trust. Many of us know, but
Yeah.
it's this knowing that traps us in our ego. And
Right.
ultimately, if we trust, what the egoic body knows. So the egoic knows that we are worthy. The egoic body knows that we are loved. The egoic body knows that we are free. The egoic body comes to, I am. So in the
Mm.
mental body, we trust.
Yeah.
And if we can overcome the conditioned mind of knowing and get into an unconditioned state of, again, allowing,
Yeah.
trusting,
Yeah.
so ultimately acceptance of the physical, compassion in the emotional, trust in
Yeah.
the mental, and surrender. I didn't say what it was in the egoic, it's
Yeah.
acts, and surrender in the egoic body.
Yeah.
Oh, the taste of our conditioned life ends up feeling
Mm.
unconditioned,
Mm.
allow, infinite,
Mm.
abundant,
Mm.
free,
Mm.
peaceful,
Yeah.
beautiful,
Mm. Wow.
divine. I can keep going and going.
Ah, wow. Yeah, never thought it that way. That's so fantastic the way you phrasing you just it's so different in that sense, especially when you're not calling the up above here the spiritual. That's what all
Mhm.
of us wanted to call it.
Yes,
But we have been right with the crown chakra and all that, and
yes,
even the skies above God and all
yes.
that. So, but you don't, you call it the egoic as a conduit, as it's almost like that body that is that's representing, it's where the everything will come, the expression of the mental, the emotional, and the physical body will come from that egoic. And then we have this, I was watching your TEDx talk, and then when you mentioned about, we have this, you said something about being the negative kind of tone that we usually use associated with the ego. And you said, well, we all have one. We all have one. And a lot of people, they judge, especially the spiritual realm. So that's very actually dangerous because there's a lot of almost like rules. If you're spiritual, you behave this way, you wear these clothes, you speak in a certain way. And then now we have a whole mess with all the judgments, which is not love. And then we're just
Mhm.
passing that on. But
Mhm.
I love that. So I would love to hear a little bit more about the egoic. Like what is and you call that the body. So I call it the false self, and usually the false
Mhm.
self has a purpose here. Of course, we wouldn't be here without the egoic body. But isn't that the one that always creates the sense of dissatisfaction? That's my it perhaps is connected with the resistance, as you say beautifully
Mhm.
too and clearly. But for me, it comes up as dissatisfaction. It's never happy. It's always feeling incomplete and trying to, get things to work, fix things. And it's never in acceptance of what is exactly as it is. In the sense that you talk about the body having that sense of acceptance for what's
Mhm.
happening, that's what I
Mhm.
kind of think when I think about the egoic body. Like,
Yes,
okay, if it can accept,
yes.
then everything will be wonderful. Everything else would just falls into place, which means stay where it is. But yeah.
Okay, Valerie, so much there. Okay, first of all, I'm
Huh.
going to speak to what you said in the beginning that I have a different way of framing things. When you asked me to introduce myself, I said everything except I forgot to mention engineer.
Yeah,
Because I say I'm an engineer's mind meets spiritual guide, is one of the ways that I frame myself. And
right.
part of my seeking was trying to understand how do we get to the lowest common denominator? How do we get to the root of everything? So, how do I get to the root of your human's experience, my human experience, my children's human experience, and a baby's human experience? How do I understand it from a formulaic type of way? So
Yeah.
that's what, so asking, coming back to then the ego. And
Mm.
so, yes, there's a few reasons I called it the egoic body versus the spiritual body. First of all, we all have an ego, and
Yeah.
we spend so much time putting the ego down.
Yes.
Just like we put down our bodies, just like we
Mhm.
put down our minds, just like we put down emotions and we repress. I call that pains. It's so funny. I'm coming out with all of my acronyms today. But pains, what we do to our missions, we project them, we amplify them, we intellectualize them, we negate them, or we suppress them. So
Mm.
that's what I have in my book, how I talk about what we do. So ultimately, the egoic body, we all talk about the ego like it's bad, bad, bad. And I'm like, how can something that we all have be bad? So then I realized, oh, it's not the ego that's bad. It's the resistant ego that's bad. Just
Right.
like a
Mm.
heart isn't bad, but a broken heart will be hurtful. It's not like a mind that will be hard, that's bad, but a disturbed mind will be. So if we realize that the ego has a purpose, and the ego is, I'm shining in a different way than you are, Valerie. We have two different personality, auras, air,
Right.
and that's what our ego is. It's
Mm,
representing, and I believe that in our ego, this is where we're holding our identity and our beliefs, and we ultimately want to get to an state of I am. So a lot of other scriptures or other modualities call it the spiritual body, but
yeah.
the essence of the spirit is limitless.
Right.
It's infinite. So I'm like, how can we have a body and hold resistance? So to me, calling it the egoic body and recognizing we want to go from a resistant to non-resistant had now
Mm,
a formalic, I don't know if I'm saying that right, way for us to start to say, oh, there's resistance in my ego.
right.
I'm not feeling like I'm good enough.
Mm,
I'm not feeling satisfied. I'm not feeling lovable.
right.
I'm not feeling that free. I feel controlled because
Right.
it's an unconditional three. I keep talking about the worthiness, the love, and the freedom. And I ultimately feel that we're here to recalibrate to the infinite inherent nature of our worthiness, love, and freedom. We are worthy by just being. We are love. We don't need to be loved. Look for love, search
Mm,
for love, find love. We are love. And this
mm.
idea of control is a delusion. There is no control. There is no control. And if we can move to a place of allowing and recognizing that the biggest fear that we have is that we can't control life and death. And
Right.
then we move ultimately now, instead of acceptance, because the connection to the egoic body is to the mystery, it is to the divine, it is to the spiritual. So then we go to a place of
Yeah.
surrender.
That's the word.
Surrender to the mystery, surrender to life and death,
Mm,
surrender to the flow of life, surrender to the beauty,
mm,
surrender to
mm,
life.
mm, mm. Yes. Um, it feels like a song to me. And it really does, though. I say this when I meet people like you here. Kind of honoring that we are life itself. We are not apart from life. I don't have a life. I am life. That's basically what you're saying. So there's
Yes.
no really control anywhere. It's so true.
No,
Yeah, how
no.
beautiful. Wow. How did you get to this? I don't say this level of consciousness, but yeah, how did you realize that? At what point? Was through experiences or perhaps a gift, grace? Some people call it. It doesn't take suffering. Yeah.
That's actually a hard question for me. And there are a series of revelations, and I speak to them in my book. Like there's three specific revelations that help me. So, like I said, from day one, I've been asking why
Yeah.
and
Actually, why?
curious to my life experience versus, when we were younger, they would show. Thank
Want to show
you.
book?
Yes, my book, Transcending Anxiety from Fear to Freedom. Yes, during in when I was growing up, they would show us children starving in Africa, and then also at that time there would be images of Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie,
Oh, yeah.
and do you remember? And I'd be like, why? Why am I this tanned Middle Eastern curly chubby girl that's having trouble fitting in versus on the other side of the world these young children that they show that are starving in Africa. Meanwhile, there's these like beautiful, vibrant, appearing to be um, have it all women in California. Like what? Like why are we here? Why
Yeah.
are we here?
Yeah.
And then I started to see that things were perception and that there was illusions and delusions. So the
Mm,
perception might be that the somebody in the third world country, and I'm putting in quotes,
yeah.
is unhappy. And then I went to Costa Rica in high school and realized, oh, they're happier than we are in Canada and
Right.
America. Like, what are we talking about poor these people? There's a exuberance and a excitement and a zeal and a satisfaction for life
Yeah.
that I saw in the airport and on the streets that I don't even see in a week in my own. So then I started to recognize, oh, there's a delusion. And then you start to see, some of these celebrities. I don't want to pick on poor Paris or Nicole. I just sort of brought them in as an example. They're
Yeah.
beautiful, wonderful, vibrant beings.
Yeah.
Then I start to see that, oh, what is seen on the external is not a representation of what's going on inside.
Right. Right.
And so, and also religion. My parents are very spiritual and religious, and they're also very moral. And so I started to see the difference between religion and being religious and morality.
Right.
And again, I was raised, and my parents had us in a little cocoon, and they could say, this is the way that we do things, and this is how it is culturally. And then
Mm.
I go back home with them, and I realize, whoa, this
Yeah.
is crazy. This is inconsistent with what my parents were saying. So I realized that there's a difference between morality and religion and
Right.
spirituality. So along my journey with all of my like why, I started to come to the lowest common denominator. Maybe 10 years ago, I was attended a conference that a friend invited me to. It's more of a workshop, and I was able to observe the coordinator working with everybody and seeing that we actually have imprints of our emotions and our stories in our body. So
Mm.
this was one of the first times that I became aware of energy.
Right.
And from there, I pursued Reiki and yoga and the sutras and started to
Yeah.
lean more into understanding more about the vibrational nature of
Yes.
the human. So I started to understand, okay, there's an emotional body. So Manal's engineer mind wanted to call it an emotional body. And then I realized we have the mental, we have the physical, and the imprints of our stories are held in our body. And I'm
Mm.
like, but it's not bad. My mom's not bad. Life isn't bad. It's that we were conditioned and our conditioners. So if I want to blame my mom, which I blame my mom and dad for so much for so long, I realized, wait a second, Manal, they're a product of their parents.
Yeah.
And I am so fortunate because my parents gave me so much more than their parents did. But
Right.
I'm like, but they still raised them and brought them to a place to be able to do that. So I said, well, wait a second. How can I blame my parents if they were a product of their conditioning? And I'm like, well, how do I blame my grandparents if they're a product of their conditioning?
Right.
And so I realized, oh, wait a second. There is no blame. The blame
Mm.
makes us a victim. It
Yeah.
makes us external. And if
Yeah.
we really go back into the internal and recognize that there's a greater purpose for
Mm.
every unfolding, and we recognize that we can calibrate to our internal, and that's where the ego came in. I'm answering your question so long, and I'm recognizing that I'm talking so much, and I want to turn the mic back to you, but I want to honor your question fully. So it really was a progressive state.
Yeah.
COVID and my divorce were big moments that helped me stop looking on the outside and
Yeah.
start going on the inside. A
Mm.
lot of meditation, a lot of time of
Mm.
just searching. And then I looked at all religions. I read all of the different modalities, the Reikis, the yogas, read all of these business books and fiction and nonfiction. And I started to see that fiction is the same as nonfiction. They're just
Mm.
telling us the story in different ways.
Yes.
And business books are the same as spiritual books, but they're
Yeah.
just telling us the message in different ways. So I just kept distilling it down further and further and further to where I am today. Did I answer your question with?
You did. Yeah. And it's certainly beyond even your beautiful expression, physical, your words. It's there's this energy about you that's so, I mean, we can call it authentic, and I think it's just is that surrender. I think, yeah, I feel like you just have surrendered yourself to life as life, so it feels very freeing, your presence. So thank you again.
Can I
And that,
tell you that I
yeah,
feel the same way about you, and I feel that your voice is I read energy, like, and I can hear things in voices, and I see it in bodies, and your voice is so beautiful, and it's so grounded, and it's so connected to knowing. So I'm
mm.
really enjoying when the mic goes from you to me, and I get to just listen to the sing song of your voice.
Yeah, it's the same song, isn't it? I don't think it's different. It's the song of life, right? Um, oh, now I have to ask you about this intuition. So I know you talked about the mental, right? The mental body. And so, how is what is intuition within all that? I think I didn't see that word here, or I didn't hear from you yet, but I would love to.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so the four bodies: physical, emotional, mental, and egoic. Ultimately, I believe that the emotional body is the command center. So
Uh,
ultimately, when we allow our heart, and
yeah.
our heart aligns with our desires and our dreams and our happiness and our love to direct our mind, this
Yeah.
is where intuition is. So, what we want to do is have our bodies playing together, all of them. And when they're in alignment, then we're flowing from a place of serendipity and surprise and flowing with the universe. So, when we allow our heart
Yeah.
to guide and to be the leader, boom,
Mm,
intuition, gut instinct,
mm,
allowing, serendipity, and all
mm.
of these beautiful things are happening. And we are conditioned in
Yeah.
this beautiful world that we live in to be goal oriented, to
Yeah.
focus with our mental body, to think, to be mindy, logic, intellect. Even I find myself, like I said, I'm an engineer's guide,
Yeah.
meet engineer mind, meet spiritual guide. And so if we could just let go, I'll use the word again, surrender, and
Mm,
go to trust in our mind,
yeah.
and allow our knowing to come from our egoic body, and
Yeah.
our to be led by our heart, which is following your heart,
Mm,
following your desires, listening if something doesn't feel right, that
mm,
gut instinct, listening to it. If when you're walking out the door it says go
yeah.
back in and go get your umbrella, go back and get your umbrella.
Yeah.
You heard it here. If it says go back and grab a granola bar, go back and grab X, Y, or Z, listen to that. And the more you can start to muscle, I talk about muscling. I always say, if I went to the gym today and said, oh, I'm going to do 10 bicep curls and expect that I
Mm,
have beautiful biceps, no, we all know it's going to say 6 to 12 to whatever 24 weeks for us to develop the muscle that we're going to choose to focus on. So
right.
if you start to choose on a now, starting now, to strengthen your intuition and started listening when
Yeah.
there's this little voice that's
Yes.
telling you something, that
Ah,
little voice will start to get stronger and stronger and stronger.
right. Yes. Beautifully clarified and answered that question about intuition. Yes, yes, yes. Very much connected to the heart. Yes.
Hmm.
That's something that I did know. And then by direct experience, I just feel over and over again. Every time
Yes.
I come from the heart, from love, then it's almost, you can't go wrong. But then, but then also I realized that life doesn't make mistakes and we are life. So there's nothing really to regret, nothing to judge. So when it comes to that, I would love to hear a little bit more from your perspective. So my realization is that life doesn't make mistakes. So whatever happens, it's just it was meant to happen.
Hmm.
Life wanted it to happen because we have no control anyway. Even when we don't follow intuition and then we get in trouble, that was just part of the design too, per se. So that's my view. But how do you see that? This flow? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. You
Mm,
showed the cover of my book earlier, and one of the quotes that I repeat very frequently to help us
yeah.
embrace acceptance is it just is.
Right.
It just is. And we just talked about my son's ankle. It just is. And if we recognize that, coming back to this notion, we're here to grow and expand.
Yeah.
And if everything is peachy keen, everything is wonderful, then the desire to learn and go inside is muted. So if,
Mm,
if I go out and it's sunny and
mm.
the intuition said go grab an umbrella and I come back out and it's still sunny, I'm like, okay, that really didn't help me. But if you start to recognize that, oh, I changed lanes and then all of a sudden something fell out of the car in front of me, wow, listening to that. So there's all of these different opportunities for us to reinforce the muscle of
Mm.
of knowing, of intuition, of accepting the unfolding of life, of recognizing there's a it's okay. This is one way that I like to say it, and it usually gets this big aha moment. We're expecting life to be linear. We're
Yeah.
expecting that our simple minds, and I know we have the most amazing minds. I am not calling our minds simple. I adore our minds. I love our intellect. I love being academic and nerdy. But our minds, they're so small, eensy beensy, teeny weeny when you look at the
Yeah.
expansive nature of the divine.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so we're trying to understand why something's happening in Africa, why there may have been a crash, why something happened to me from the perception of the eensy beensy teeny weeny. And so if we can surrender to recognize that there is a infinite, divine,
Yeah.
higher meaning,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
and recognize that if I can't understand, putting it in quotes,
Yeah.
it's part of my evolution, my growth, and I just got to trust. Almost like if I see us as children,
Mm.
and we have to trust our again, I keep picking on my poor son, and he's not here to defend himself, but it's like he got out of his boot, and I'm like, no, you can't drive until next week. Give yourself a few days to strengthen your. But mom, what? But mom,
Yeah.
trust the wisdom of the grace.
The grace. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah, that too.
trust.
Yeah.
I hope there's not poking out. But it's almost like if we can recognize that the divine is our elder, the
Yeah.
divine is our wise, the divine is our knowing. And so
Mm.
if we can recognize that, okay, maybe I don't understand, but there is a deeper, higher meaning, then I can start to recognize that every unfolding has a meaning. And the
Mm.
more I can calibrate to the acceptance, the compassion, the trust, and the surrender to
Mm.
unfolding of life, then you're going to embody this youthful curiosity,
Yeah.
joy, giddiness, happiness,
Mm.
flow,
Mm.
ease,
Mm.
abundance,
Yeah.
happiness, appreciation, satisfaction, all the things that peace, all the
Yeah.
things that we are looking for if we realize, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not in control. Wait a
Mm.
second. This isn't personal. This isn't about me.
Right.
This
Right.
is just is part of the human experience that I get to
Mhm.
experience. And if you don't think we get
Mm.
to, go to a hospital and look at how people
Mm.
feel about somebody that is during their period of transition.
Yeah.
No matter what type of life they led, there is pain because they happiness if you know that they're going off to the divine, but
Yeah.
but but they're not going to be part of this beautiful,
Mm.
amazing human experience.
Mm.
We get to. And if you're struggling, it's
Mm.
okay. It's part of the human experience. If
Mm.
you have to shift compassion towards your struggle, you immediately shifted that struggle and that pain.
Yeah. Yes, 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 a billion times to that truth. Wow, how beautiful. How beautifully said. So life loves life, right? That's why at the very end we don't want to let go of this. No, 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 no,
Yes.
no. We get to be part of it, right? Of this, yeah, this beautiful experience. I agree. I know that most of the not just the religious and spiritual practices, messages, and all that out there. It's all about, and also the coaches, psychology, all that. It's about lessening or ending suffering. So but it's not really about, and we know the difference now between suffering and pain. So pain is something that's natural, that's part of this experience, but then suffering would be what you call resistance, isn't it,
Hmm.
Manal? So would you say that that's the key, really, because you emphasize that a lot about resisting life, what is? So would that be the key to unlock that wholeness, that taste of wholeness, the resistance part?
Yes, yes. Okay. So I have my 5-step framework. Okay. Step one is awareness. Awareness.
Yeah,
And it's awareness of your 4 bodies and awareness of the resistance.
yeah,
So when do we want to be aware? When we're in pain. So aware of the physical
yeah.
pain, aware of the emotional, aware of the mental, aware of the egoic. And then ultimately, step two is acknowledgement. When you recognize that that pain is here because it's an illustration of what is desired. So that pain is undesired, one
Mm,
side of the coin. So the other side of the coin is, well, then what is desired?
Yeah.
So I was cut off on the street and the person was really rude and I got angry. So what was undesired? The rudeness. What was desired? To be respected, to
Yeah.
be worthy. I
Mm.
was in a relationship and they broke up with me and it hurt my heart and I'm sad. What's undesired? Sadness. What's desired? Love.
Yeah.
I was in trouble by my mother and was told, oh, XYZ, and I felt controlled. What's undesired? Control. What's desired? Freedom. So, step two is recognition that every resistant feeling we have is leading us to one of the unconditional three, the inherent state of our worthiness, love, and freedom. And so now we realize, oh, that wasn't something bad. This was something that was teaching me that I thought I wanted money. I thought I wanted success. I thought I wanted a new car. I thought I wanted a relationship. I thought I wanted my health. But actually, no, I wanted my freedom. I wanted to be loved, which is me love. I wanted to feel good enough and to feel successful. Ooh, I'm looking for my worthiness. So we start to take that external and go internal. So
Right.
resistance is the tool to take the external pain and to realize that we're calibrating internally. So step three then becomes the things that we've been talking about the whole time, Valerie, about
Yeah.
realizing, oh my God, we're so lucky to be human. This is just vibrational. This is just energy. This is us learning and growing how it is to be human. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, we're so lucky. Isn't it so beautiful? Your energy is beautiful. And so you start to go into the state of step three, which is appreciation. And it's not intellectual. You need to feel it.
Mm. Yeah.
Feel the sense of like, oh, silly me. I
Yeah.
took my partner seriously and that wasn't personal. It was their conditioning coming up. Oh, silly me. I snapped at my child and he took it personally and I took it personally, but we were
Yeah.
just both tired and frustrated and I need to own up and it wasn't personal on my end. It wasn't personal on his head. So step three is this it's the easiest and hardest. The hardest is awareness because it's
Right.
hard for us to become aware. But step three is easy, but it has to be embodied. And then step four is allowing. So then we allow the anger. We allow the expression of the resistance, recognizing it's leading to me. So just allow it. I used to call it letting go, but I realized that allowing is more of a passive and we don't have to feel like we need to do anything and we just be.
Mm. Yeah.
And then ultimately, step five is the mastery of step one, two, three, and four, and it's surrender. So it's 5 steps to surrender. So resistance is the gift to get us to surrender. Resistance is the gift of moving us from outside to inside. Because resistance is the gift that takes us from identification of pain to
Yeah.
and suffering to the infinite nature of I am.
Mm, yes, that's wonderful though. I mean, it's so clear to me, the steps,
Yes.
everything just, I mean, it's so clear and necessary. It's almost like, and it's not linear, right,
No,
Manal? The
no.
process, it's 5 steps, but it doesn't have to be, or does it have to be in a sense? It has to start with awareness, right? I guess that, like, as you said, that's the first one anyway. But
You have to start with awareness. I can't see not starting with awareness, although
yeah,
we might be talking. You
right.
have to start with awareness, but it's a dance. It's a dance. And ultimately, when your muscle's strong, you're
Yeah.
in surrender and there's a blurring between steps one through four. You don't
Wow.
even know if you're appreciation, you're allowing, or if your awareness, your acknowledgement. It just sort of is sort of embodied all of the steps. And you jump between step one, which is awareness, and then step two, well, what does it mean? What acknowledgement of what's desired? And then you go back into feeling into the physical sensations and the emotional manifestations and the mental thoughts and the egoic misbeliefs. So you sort of jump between one and two. And then when you tasted them, we'll come back to the
Yeah,
tasting.
but
And when you taste it and you're like, oh, and then you start to realize, oh, this wasn't personal. This is vibrational. This is growing. This is just
Mm,
humaning.
yeah.
And then that allowing sort of merges in with step
Mhm,
three. And most people, Valerie, it's just this unconscious release.
yeah.
And you're like, oh, you just released. You just released. Sometimes people yawn. I
Yeah.
have this really crazy,
Yeah.
crazy that I burp.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
hate it. But when I feel people moving energy, there'll be these like subtle little quiet burps that
Yeah.
just come out, and I can feel the energy moving. So there's different ways that we might unconsciously release energy. I was coaching a young man that's
Mhm.
helping me. He's one of my working with me as well, and I was okay. Feel it in your emotional body. We need to muscle your emotional body. And then he said, we were doing it over phone. He goes, I just let out this huge yawn. And I said,
Yeah.
wonderful. That's you just releasing that energy. So the energy will be released in different ways. And again, we want this to be not mindy. It's not an intellectual. It's the four bodies, and you're embodying and feeling.
Right, right. So the awareness piece, it could be intellectual. It could be something like an observation, but then it has to become an experience. Basically,
Yes.
that's it has to become an experience. Yeah.
Yes, in my book, Valerie, I talk about how the mind is blamed for being overactive, but the
Yeah.
mind is expressing for the physical body. The
Right.
mind is expressing for the emotional body. The mind is speaking for itself and speaking for the egoic body. So the mind is the intellectual tool, the mental body for us to communicate, for us to feel, for us to get these sensations.
Right.
And our ability to differentiate, and closing your eyes is very simple. And
Uh,
right now I invite the listeners to see
mm,
what are they aware of in their physical body. And I can tell you, I'm so proud. Usually I'll say that my jaw is tense, but
uh,
it's not today. I can see that I can feel it in my heart. I feel
mm,
heaviness in my heart. And so then that's the physical sensation. And so then I'll ask myself, well, what is the emotion?
yeah.
And I can feel it's almost repressing my joy. So
Mm,
there's fear repressing my joy. And so then I go to the mental body and say, is there a story, and what's it connected with? And it's almost like, oh, this trying to control so that I do well. So it's sort of this desire to show up and to be on target with our conversation. And
yeah.
so the egoic body, then I flip to what's desired, my worthiness. Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. I had some tension in my heart that was fear and sadness, that met the story where I realized cognitively it had to do with how I'm showing up and sort of judging myself, and I
Mm,
want to be worthy. And then now we're talking, and so, oh my God, isn't this crazy? Isn't this amazing that 5 seconds of closing my eyes, my body's able to tell me so much? And
yes.
isn't it crazy that I'm looking for external validation for my worthiness, even though I'm teaching that we're infinitely, inherently worthy? And then this big, oh, it's so amazing to be human, and we continue to learn and grow. And then I have goosebumps from my
Mm,
awareness.
mm, mm. Yes, as you speak, like my body is also doing something here. The yawning's coming up, it's trying out.
Yes.
It wants to yawn. It's almost like this very powerful sense of relaxation.
Hmm.
Yeah, resting in something that it feels like truth. Like
Hmm.
everything that you're saying, it feels almost like this bed of truth, like a resting place. It's amazing. Yeah, the body just says, "Oh, finally, yeah, I'm having a conversation that is about." Me, basically truth saying, and
Yeah.
that's we are honoring that. So thank
That's
you.
so beautiful. That's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
thank
One of the biggest compliments that I ever had in my coaching was one of my clients. This is funny. One of
you.
my clients saying to me, Manette, you sound like a rabbi.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm the farthest from a rabbi that we would ever see, but I was like so. And he shared a rabbi that he follows, that he adores, and he goes, "You."
Yeah.
And it's because, it's because I think what you feel is that I truly trust the
Yeah.
mystery. Like I truly have been able to muscle a genuine
Mm, mm,
acceptance of the infinite power. And through that, aligned with my infinite inner power. So it's not giving away my power. It's recognizing the divinity that I trust is also within me. So my trust in the infinite power allows me to align with my personal power. And so that clarity of that is what gives the power of a rabbi, or whatever it might be. That I
Right.
can't believe I'm sharing this. So yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It resonates true to me. Yes. 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 I mean, you're just amazing in so many ways. I just love that. I have devotion for this. It's a self discovery. It's life honoring life, life recognizing life, God seeing God. So it's really, I mean, this is it. It doesn't
Yes.
get better than this.
No.
I have to tell you, it really doesn't. So I love your work. I love this transmission of what you already know to be true. So you put in this in a very practical way, in a very clear and practical way, easy, simple. So this is wonderful because anyone can try it, even out of curiosity. They can just try and see how it feels, and they'll find out for themselves. Which is another thing that I see that you encourage, right? More
Yes.
experience than knowledge. It's not about intellectualizing concepts. It's about experience, knowing that you are, yeah, you're dancing the dance of life as
Yes.
life.
Yes.
Just taste it. I mean, this is
Yes.
beautiful. Just taste it. Just dance it with it. Yeah, that's it. Oh my God. So, I want to mention the other two books that you have written, Manal. So, Zachism, is that how you pronounce that?
Yes.
Zachisms.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
talk to me for a moment
Okay,
about
so if you see in the back, there's
Oh
Transcending
yeah,
Anxiety. I don't know
right,
if it'll be
right.
cut out in the editing.
You see
And
it?
then there's the two Zachisms book. My
Yes.
father, my father is very, both my parents are very wise. And actually in my book, I talk about how both my mom and my dad gave me he's the engineer as I am, and gave me the pursuit of knowledge and logic and intellectualization. My mom was the heart.
And so my dad would come up with all these quotes. And so I'm like, Dad, this needs to be a book. This needs to be a book. So ultimately, we collected them. So the one is Life Simply
Yes.
Stated.
Yeah.
And then the second one is Work. And it's just my dad's nuggets. My dad's name is Zach. That's why it's called Zachisms. So my dad's name is Zach. And so it's just nuggets of how his observations of the beauty of life. And
Mm,
actually my dad's a bit cynical. So it's not always the beauty. It's
yeah.
sometimes the cynical nature of life. And so he's captured so beautifully there. It's
Right.
his way of seeing things, interpreting it, and then it mixed in with quotes of famous people. So when his observation met the observation of someone like Eleanor Roosevelt, that would be in there
Mm,
shared. So it would be like, this is a truth that's also been identified by somebody else of beautiful historical stature.
right.
Yes.
Right. God, I just, yeah, now I have to read. I mean, I'm a lover of wisdom and truth. So that's just caught my attention immediately. I was reading on Amazon. The description is said, I think this line here caught my attention. Zachisms highlight the ironic nature of life in the eternal need for compromise.
Yes.
So it's so true, isn't it? The
Yes.
the need to embrace the paradox,
Yes.
the
Yes.
contradictions, and all that,
Yes.
and ultimately compromising. Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
so true. So we're almost at the end. Manal has been, I mean, incredibly beautiful. Your presence, everything that you're offering, as this expression of life that has been in touch with itself in a very deep, profound way. In so many ways, I see that there's a lineage to it now. It's very clear to me that this is. It's not. Yeah, you have been around, not
Molded.
just with reincarnations, but also around, yeah, people too, your parents. So, I, about your coaching, is that done online, in person? You do groups, corporations, everything, or you kind of keep one way of expressing, of teaching these
I
beautiful messages
I
to
enjoy
others?
all settings. I do love doing one-on-one coaching. I love group
Yeah,
settings because sometimes it's easier to observe
yeah,
somebody
oh yeah,
else and rather than being it on you. It's that awareness is easier by seeing your little brother learn, that the
Yes.
peer to learn, and then you embody it within yourself. And also enjoy working with groups that have common missions in corporate, because I come from corporation, come from the enterprise. So yes, I love doing it all.
Yes, I can see that. I mean, I can see in your voice and your face. It's just so beautiful.
I
I
feel
love
the
your
same
expression.
towards you. I
Yeah,
do.
it's amazing. So your website is maintain.com. It will be clickable on the
Yes.
podcast in the notes. So you are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. Wow, you're everywhere, which is wonderful. You also offer a free guide, How to Be Happy, 10 Steps to Joy. Yeah, I didn't read it but that's another beautiful topic, which is, I know you already explored that in a very deep way today. Is there anything that you left unsaid? I'm wondering.
Gosh, Valerie, this was so fantastic and so deep, and you are in tune with truth. So I feel like you did such a great job of getting to the heart of it. And so the only thing I want to say is thank you. And
Thank
for all
you.
your listeners, they're so fortunate to be here and get the tastes of truth.
Yeah, I
And
love the
by
taste.
virtue of them being here, the beauty and the wonderfulness, the amazingness that's within them. So I just celebrate everybody that is here. I celebrate you. I celebrate our humanness, and just so excited to co-create with you and with your listeners, and to continue to grow and expand together in this beautiful thing we call life. We are
Yeah.
so lucky to be here.
I agree. Gosh, what can I say? I love the way you express this. I mean, it's just so beautiful the way you use language in a very poetic. It's like a song. It really feels like that. Listening to you, it's truly, truly, truly beautiful. So in a way, I'm kind of very much connected to the wholeness part of it. So I see the way, it feels just so whole, and that's what we want, isn't it? To see out there. I can't help it, but sometimes feel sad when I see family members and people around me, my neighbors, holding this, a lot of the energy of fear, and then
Yes.
this lot of contraction, and I don't see that, this expanded kind of way of experiencing this, and I see that in so many people that I meet here. So that's really my. If there's an I here, this is the intention. This is something that almost life wants to show, to to the other expressions of life. Yeah, you can be more like this. Take a look at these people, how amazing they are, what they have done. So thank you so much for saying yes and for being part of this community. It's my heart community, so it's my sacred space. So thank you. We'll be in touch again, and all the social media website will be on the podcast notes, and I guess we'll meet again. I would love to meet you again, and
Fabulous.
now one of these
Thank
days.
you. This is wonderful. I really enjoyed our conversation. And I just didn't want it to be so much of a love fest. Everything you said about me, I wanted to say, and to you too. What you see in me, I see in you. Which actually, I'm working on some children's books, 4
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
And one of them is called "The Beauty I See in the World is the Beauty Within Me." And I always believe that when someone compliments somebody in something, it's something that's within them as well. So I want to say to you, I see all of the things you're telling me. I see it in you.
Oh wow, that's yeah. What can I say? I could say the same thing, but it's the same thing. Me talking to me. Thank you so much, yeah, for
Thank
being
you
this
so much, Valerie.
amazing, amazing representation of life. Thank you, and
You're
we'll
so
talk
beautiful.
soon.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
bye
I
for
love
now.
you. Always.